We have on Mr. James Shrampko, who is an Australian serial entrepreneur, and he also talks about how you can actually work less and make more. And he talks to us today all about how you can actually use your time most efficiently and effectively. We're going to be diving in. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee. All right, Mr. James Shrampko, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my brother. I'm super stoked to rock the mic with you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, you have one of the best podcasting voices with that accent, man. I gotta love the Australian accent, and it just it's therapeutic in a sense. But that's not why you're on the show. You're on the show because you're a happy hustler, man, through and through. You are a serial entrepreneur. You're an investor. You're a mentor to some very prominent people that you and I both are mutually friends with. And we're going to talk today about how to work less and make more and how to really put the happy in your hustle. But before we get into all that good stuff, James, what's something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
I was an actor in a feature film in my early 20s. It's called Muriel's Wedding. It was a pretty big film. I played an American, so I didn't have that accent in that film. And the role required me to go full frontal nude. So, of course, I said yes.
Hello. So you're telling me
it was a good rating film. It wasn't an X-rated film or anything. It was, I think, it was like a G. But it was pretty full on. I was like 23, and I was there filming on set with Rachel Griffith, and Sam Neill was there, and Tony Collette. And I didn't know they were going to go on to be super famous as well. But it was pretty interesting times.
Yeah, that is definitely sounds like an interesting time. And I mean, I got one foot in the entertainment industry as well, so I know the game, and it's an interesting business. I think one of the cool things about that business is it has helped me forge my resilience to rejection, because rejection runs rampant in the entertainment industry. At any given time, like 9 out of 10 actors are not working. So you really learn how to take a no in stride. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to have that quality, or else you probably won't succeed. And it's just one of those things that I look back on as an attribute that helped me forge that. When it comes to you and your journey, I like to just kind of kick things off with a bang. A lot of people really like to, what was your backstory? Tell me about your childhood. What was your favorite food growing up? Like some of that stuff. I'm not that guy. I like to get right into the juicy stuff. I mean, you've built and sold 7-figure businesses. You have over $15 million worth of products and services sales under your belt. You have a lot of experience when it comes to online businesses and really just like crushing it in this world. What do you think is the biggest mistake that you see with online entrepreneurs?
They probably delegate their thinking to other people. So I think it's okay to have support or coach or a voice in your ear, but I reckon it comes down to ultimate responsibility. This is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you really have to own it. Even if you pay people to help you here and there, you still have to own it. And if it doesn't go well, it's ultimately because you didn't get the right person or you didn't filter that information. So I would say that's something where people just think it's going to be someone else riding in on the white horse to save them or to do something for them. It's just not that easy.
That's powerful. I mean, they delegate their thinking. That is, I can even raise my hand as a little bit of, accountability. Even you just saying that, where I think, oh, my CFO or my executive assistant, should handle this, but ultimately the buck stops with you at the top as an entrepreneur, and I think that's valuable sage wisdom, man. Um, Parlaying into your book, like I really love the title. I've actually done a title similar on a podcast recently, Work Less and Make More. What even was the genesis behind writing this book?
Well, it wasn't the first book that I tried to write. I tried to write a book before this book, and I paid a lady to help me because I realized it wasn't going to come from me. I'm not a writer. And then she disappeared for a long time and kind of ghosted me. And so I sort of put it on the back burner. And then a few years later, I went to our friend Chris Ducker's event in the Philippines, and I presented like a presentation that was more or less around like 3 ways to make more profit, 3 ways to double your business. I think it was something like that. And there was a lady in the audience called Kelly Exeter, and she saw the presentation and came up to me and she said, "You should do a book." And I said, "Look, I've tried to do a book before. It didn't work out." She says, "No, I will help you with this book." And so we collaborated together. She asked me all sorts of questions. She went through all my stuff. She'd send me things and I'd then send her long audios back. She got it all transcribed and organized, and then we put it into this book. And she actually labeled it. She said, "Look, I think when I look at all your stuff, you're all about leverage. You're all about working less and making more." And that's how the title came about. I think there are even other books with the same title, which is confusing, which I didn't know at the time until we were loading it up to Amazon. But the core message is leverage, but that's not a very sexy way to describe what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think people get the word leverage though in theory, but when it comes time to actually inputting it practically into your reality, what would you say is like the first step when it comes to leveraging your time more efficiently?
You. The first step is you. It's understanding yourself, because that will be the multiplier. You'll get this to the extent of how much you understand yourself and can control yourself. Have you ever seen those sort of crazy owners, like they're not healthy or they have bad habits, and then it parlays across into their business and then everything just blows up? Like the chaotic last minute person or the angry people, etc. If you don't have yourself under control, then it's very hard to leverage. So it's like good inputs in, better outputs out. So if you can work on yourself, I think that's a magnifier.
Yeah, for sure. When we talk about like really being that first step, like owning your own habits and really having discipline, what has helped you, if any, forge that discipline?
Routine. Routine helps me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm overly disciplined. I was fairly disciplined, but then there's things that I'm not disciplined at all, that the routine saves me. For example, I do a weekly call with my group of people that I help, and I've been doing that since 2010. So for 13 years, I've just had that time in my schedule, and it just happens every Tuesday. So having that in my schedule means I don't have to think about it. I don't have to be disciplined. I just have to wait till that day turns up, and it's like, oh, here we go. Same like when we arrange to speak on a podcast, it goes in the schedule. I don't have to do anything. It just turns up. So I like to create a system where things are coming to me and then I just have to react.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of load off me having to be disciplined. I think if everything you do has to rely on proactivity, for some people that's not going to work very well. And if you are good at reactionary activities, then just stick it in the schedule. If it gets in the schedule, it's going to get done. That's why I don't keep a to-do list.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that point. Like having it in the schedule, having a routine, it oftentimes gives you more freedom. And people think it's the opposite, right? But when you know what you're responsible for and you know when to actually achieve that given task, then you can do so knowing that you have the freedom afterwards or before, right? And it does create that space to really just be present. Now, I do want to kind of get a little deeper into some of your methodologies because, I mean, you talk about the counterintuitive approach to building a profitable business. What do you mean by counterintuitive?
Well, it literally means going against the grain of what everyone else does. So you could define a lot of the things I do in my business as being the opposite of what most people do. Mm-hmm. Because if you go into a particular business space, you see common things that everybody does, and then when everyone does it, it becomes commoditized and it wears off in its effectiveness. So I made some pretty conscious choices at this point in my business, and that's an important point in itself because you're at different stages in business. But when my business became a little more mature, I was able to turn off affiliate marketing. I don't have other people promoting my products. I don't have to do launches. I don't need to drive a whole bunch of paid campaigns across different platforms. I don't need to do lives. So there's lots of things I just didn't want to do. And so I pruned my business around the things that I do want. One of the things that I observed with the early generation of gurus is that they do these huge launches. They have everyone promoting for them. They make a big amount of sales, maybe. Less their refunds, less all the hype, less the wear and tear on their team and the infrastructure that has to come after that. And then they just get exhausted and then they have to do it all again. So I prefer the forever business model. I just have recurring subscriptions as the foundation of my business model. And just by keeping a customer for 7 or 8 or 9 years, it takes the pressure off having to go find another customer this week. So now I don't have to be up under people's grills in the DMs, pressuring them for a 15-minute strategy call. I don't have a single sales call booked in my schedule. So I'm going down a different path than a lot of people. And I think that is counterintuitive.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure-free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that the Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode. Yeah, no, I would also second that. I mean, having a reoccurring component to your business is imperative, especially if you want to have that creative, financial, and time freedom. And I also have the Happy Hustle Club and a reoccurring model to my business, more of a mastermind membership community. I'm curious, I'm sure a ton of happy hustlers out there thinking, okay, this reoccurring revenue thing sounds phenomenal, James, but like, how do I actually create it? What would you say to someone who's maybe like looking to create their first reoccurring product or service offering and maybe some pitfalls to avoid in the process?
Well, without being too cheeky, I'd say go and get my free membership training because I documented what I did after all the time I've done memberships and all the people I've coached.
Yeah,
I put a little training together and I give it away because I'm interested in people using the software. That's the reason I do it. Just for anyone who's like, what's the catch? But the first step in that training is research. It's you pull out a spreadsheet and you start writing down things like what would your membership rate be? What are the top 3 or 4 people in the industry out there? What's their offer? What are they charging? How many
Mm.
clients would they have? What's the feasibility of this membership? And then I would also think about what kind of person you are in terms of if you're suited to having a membership. A membership is a lot like being a parent. It's hard work in the beginning. It's not proven or tested. It doesn't have any great benefit for you straight up.
Yeah.
And over time, it matures and grows up, and then it finds itself, and then it becomes easier to manage. So it's just like having kids, messy and difficult in the beginning, and then they get and the reason people put it off is they just keep going for that big launch right now because I'd just rather have the big payday now.
Yeah.
And there's a metaphor for this. Where I live here in Noosa, in Australia, there's a national park, and there's a main beach, and then there's the next cove around from the main beach called Little Cove, and then there's the next bay called Tea Tree, and then the next bay called Granite. And what happens is people start off at the beach and they start walking along the path and they see these good waves, and so they just jump in. But if you walk around to the next bay, the waves are a little bit bigger and a little less crowded.
Mm.
And it really takes a lot of discipline for someone to walk all the way around to Granite's, the last bay, because they already have to pass 3 places that are actually pretty good, and they get better and better. And it's like, can you hold on and just go the 25 or 30 minutes, and the last part's on gravel, and then you climb over slippery boulders, but you'll get into the best wave with the least amount of people in it. And that's my approach here. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that analogy. I mean, it's all about delayed gratification, right? And now we
Yes, if you
live in,
can wait to monetize, then
yeah,
it's good.
yeah, exactly. I mean, because, we live in this like instant, success society where 6-minute abs are what everyone craves, and you want that dopamine dump from a social media post or a big launch where you have mass amount of sales. And I get that, like, the desire there, but anyone I know who's built anything substantial, who has really cultivated a community and really gives real value and gets compensated in the marketplace according to the value that they deliver, they've done so playing the long game. And it's not easy. It's not easy to play the long game, but it is effective, and it will set you up for sustainable success, quote unquote, whatever that sustainable success means for you. In your career, I know you've been in the game. How many years have you been in the game? I know it's been a while, but like, how long have you been an entrepreneur for?
I quit my job in the middle of 2008, and I'd
Wow.
been working on my online business for about 2.5 years before that. So it took me 2.5 years from scratch to replace my income. And I was running a Mercedes-Benz dealership, so I was on a super high income, great job, and I left that because I was able to exceed it. And it was actually the first 6 months through our mutual friend, actually, Mike, who
Yeah.
introduced us. Mike Hill, absolutely a gem of a person.
Legend.
I'd been working on a few offers that he was, he said, look, why don't you promote this or promote that? And I was doing really well with them. But I learned how fragile the CPA world is in terms of your paid traffic, getting a big payday, and then the offer fades. And it was the January after that, in 2009, I started my recurring subscription membership. And it's been going to this day, and I've never missed a beat. I've had every single year since I quit my job, I've had a 7-figure income with very low stress because I went for the subscription income. But back to your point about the long game, it's really about knowing yourself. Can you resist the urge to get the ego inflation, or that to be the one in the room at the mastermind with the biggest launch? Can you resist that? Put away the flex and play the longer game, because ultimately you win. Like, for me, success is I just want to surf every day.
Yeah.
If I can surf every day and have plenty of income coming in, feeding investments, etc., my family's happy, then that for me is more important than being up on stage and being adored by the masses. But I
Mm.
understand for other people it's different. So, everyone's going to have their own needs.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the happy hustlers, I think they really resonate with your needs more so than probably the needs of like having a big ego and needing it to be stroked, because like the people that are really interested in putting the happy in their everyday hustle, the people out there listening and watching, they resonate with your style of truly lifestyle entrepreneurship, and more so like playing the long game, building the community, having the value, creating something that really does solve a problem. And that that is who I love to help serve, and really people who I love to help promote, like James. Like, this is somebody who's been in the game 20 years. He knows a thing or two about lifestyle entrepreneurship and how to put the happy in his hustle. And I know you're at a place now where people might even think, all right, he's got, close to 5 million podcast downloads and 20,000 blog subscribers and close to 4,000 students helped. And you got all these like very awesome, powerful stats around your business. But you didn't always, right? Like, this is something he's been doing for 20 years. And sometimes we can get a little discouraged seeing someone like James. I'm curious, when you were just starting out building this dream, were you clear on what that perfect day looked like, or did it evolve over time? Did you have to maybe, you know, like experience burnout ever, and then really kind of reverse engineer what actually is important to you?
When I was in the showroom with Mercedes-Benz, we were, I was surrounded by rich people,
Hmm.
business owners. I went into a lot of their houses all around Sydney. I sold cars to billionaires, movie stars, sports stars, politicians. And we ran events as well. So I certainly got to see how people lived. And I
Hmm.
could compare that to my unit that I was living in, renting. I went to waterfront mansions, just these mega epic things. It was really insane.
Hmm.
And we'd get these brochures with these beautiful cars in it, and architecture, this very German style, glass and timber and concrete, polished concrete stuff. And I had a very clear desire to have a beautiful house like that. I would even buy those hardcover books by architects, modern designs and stuff, when I was in the
Hmm.
bookstore. I've got a lot of books, obviously, you can see behind me on the bookshelf.
Yeah.
And it was 2 years ago I moved into this house, which is a German inspired, brand new, polished timber, lots of glass type house. It took me a long time to achieve that. So I'm going to say I was looking at that stuff in my 20s. I'm in my 50s now, so it is a long game. And I didn't necessarily know the steps to get there. A lot like Steve Jobs didn't know the steps to what he was going to do with Apple when he was learning about font at university, right?
Yep.
So um, there was definitely a phase in terms of burnout. The closest I would have gotten was at the end of my career, while I was doing my day job of a general manager and building my online business. So there was
Hmm.
way more hustle than happy. I had
Hmm.
a family member said, if you keep doing this, you'll drop dead.
Hmm.
And so I was working about 70 hours a week. I was running a business that was generating close to $50 million a year in revenue. Had
Hmm.
70 something staff across 3 physical sites that I was responsible for. And we're having to meet targets for an international company, and also compete with all the local dealers. So it was very, very competitive and intense environment alone.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was trying to figure out how to build a freaking website, and I knew the online thing. I could sense every fiber of my body saying this online thing is critical. I'm
Yeah.
seeing it change the travel industry. I'm seeing people coming in looking for cars that I don't even know that exist because they've seen it on the internet and the manufacturer is not telling us about it.
Hmm.
And I could see what's happening in the United States before Australia. It started to permeate. I remember I asked if we could put our website address on the number plate frames of the cars, and the owner of the business said, why would we do that? I'm like, because it's important, right? Anyway, as it turns out, my hunch was correct that the internet was important. I didn't know what I was going to sell, but I did know I could access a global market from the comfort of my own home in board shorts. And that was definitely the dream. And sure, it was a little more hammock and pina colada. A lot of the early gurus were going pretty hard on the marketing messaging about freedom, etc. But I pedaled really hard for about 2.5 years. I would come home, have a shower, get changed, tuck the kids in, eat a late dinner, and then start work. And I'd work from like 9:30 at night till 2 or 3 in the morning until I fell asleep. I'd start shivering because I'd run out of energy. Wow. And then I'd get 4 hours sleep and wake up and do the whole thing again. And I could see the finish line. And there was a cascading events towards the end that caused me to get there almost straight away. And it was like I was kind of frustratingly stuck at about half my salary for my online business. And I was just making small changes. But then I got on a plane and I went to America. I saw our friend Mike speak. I started implementing new traffic techniques. I won a competition that Yannick put on, and I got myself into this millionaire mastermind called Maverick. And I wasn't making $1 million online, but everyone else was. And I started helping them and learning from them. And then 6 weeks later, I went back and quit my job because I was able to go and get a couple of clients to come on board. And I basically started a marketing services agency in 2008.
Wow.
And with just 2 clients, that doubled my income, just 2 clients. So I'm a huge believer in the idea of the 64-4, right? It's like the 80-20 of the 20. Just very, very small focus on the right thing will get you a massive result. And that has played out for me along the whole way. Don't settle for incremental gains. You could have a complete shift by just refocusing. I'll give you another example of this, and then I'll shut up. Yeah. I promise.
No, you're good.
I had a client come to me. He was making $30,000 a month, and within a month, he was making $300,000 a month, and it was because he had all the right skills to do this particular business model that he could not see. It was right in front of him. And because it had already happened to me, I'm always looking for that. I'm saying, well, what are you missing here? What can't you see that I can see? And I told him, hey, you've got this skill and everyone else sucks at this skill. If you just teach them the skill, or even better, do it for them, I think they'll pay you to do it. And he went out to his list and said, I'll do this thing for you. And they said, please, like, when can we start? Not even how much. And he just snowballed straight away. So I would be looking for those incremental gains. And that's what I help other people do. But I'd say we can definitely do this ourselves. Just question everything you're doing and see, of all the things you're doing, what are the 1 or 2 things that could really change the game for you?
Yeah. I mean, lots of gold in there, and I appreciate your story and sharing like a little bit of context from where you started, because it's a powerful journey. And I think just identifying what is your uniqueness and really like how you can use it to serve others. And you mentioned asking some questions around really identifying that. I do want to stay there for one more beat, like go a little deeper. If someone's out there thinking, man, James, that sounds great. I'd love to go from 30K a month to 300K a month. How do I actually identify a skill that the market will pay for that valuable that I possess? Is there a framework or an assessment, just high level? Obviously, people can work directly. Yeah, but please, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one is I actually did a podcast episode, something like can you make $100,000 a month? And I gave some indicators there of what sort of things a diagnostic might look like. So it's critical to go through a checklist and ask questions and then answer them. And I've actually written another book that I haven't published, which are the questions as well. But that's the process I do at the highest level. When I want to find this stuff, I'm just like a good copywriter. I will extract what I can from the person because they may not recognize the value. You know that saying, you can't see the label of the jar from inside the jar?
Yep.
That's a good one. So it would be do some diagnostic questions
Mm.
and write it all down, and then get an external viewpoint if possible. It's always good to ask the people who are already buying from you, why do you buy from me? What is it about me that cause you to want to do business? Because they'll probably tell you things that you may not be aware of.
Mm.
They tell you, like Ryan Levesque, he said, the thing I like about you the most, you're just the truth teller. You're like, I bring anything to you and you just say exactly what you think. And it's really helpful to get a bearing because you've heard about Steve Jobs' as like reality distortion factor, et cetera. And a lot of entrepreneurs get so caught up in their own echo chamber and they surround
Mm.
themselves with other similar entrepreneurs, and they just get disconnected from the potential of what could be done because they're so in it. So
Yeah.
it's always helpful to get an external point of view. But even if it's just getting it out of you onto paper and then leaving it aside for a minute and then coming back to it and then analyzing. So I've just been through this process. I've got about 20 pieces of paper there. Over the last 3 or 4 days, I just wrote down, I did a big map of my business model. And then I did a sheet of paper for each part of that business model, and then I'll refine and update it. So this is like the Kaizen principle, never
Yeah.
ending improvement. And I will take my entire business and pretend it doesn't exist and then rebuild it from scratch on paper. And then I'll see at the end of that, what have I learned? And I'm making changes
Mm.
across all parts of my business. But you can do this yourself. You don't really need anyone else. It's helpful to have someone else if you're not particularly experienced with it or you just want to get the results faster.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I like that you break down your whole business and rebuild it with intentionality because I think a lot of people who are in business or going into business, they almost like take what they can get starting out, and then you have to fulfill on what you sold, which is oftentimes not ideal. And then next thing you know, you wake up 5 years from now and you're like, oh, I'm still doing the thing that's not really filling me with joy. And then they have to either sell it or fold the business or recreate it in some sense. And I just think it's powerful to have that assessment to really figure out what you're best at and then how you can exploit that in the service of other people to really help them. Um, you've said a lot of really powerful things. One thing that we haven't talked about that I'm curious to get your perspective on, James, is the future of online business and especially integrating AI and some of this newer technology. What's your take on the next 18 months of online business and entrepreneurship and how it unfolds, implementing AI?
Yeah, I do feel AI is another one of those things that's feeling a lot like the internet was when I
Mm-hmm.
first did that leap. I'm most definitely positioning around this. I think it will encourage people to be lazy and take shortcuts and to actually not think. It's like um, people are getting bigger TVs for cheaper and education's costing more. I think if you just lean on the tools too much, you'll get garbage back and you won't even know that it's garbage. There'll
Mm.
still be a role for people like me and you who have the ability of experience. I've been through recessions. I've got battle scars from business. I've seen every possible scenario, and the robot is not quite there yet. So I'm
Mm.
using tools to augment. I use them to help the team. We get suggestions, and I feel like it's going to permeate across. And I do feel like there's most definitely this is a tectonic shift, and there will be volcanoes and earthquakes that we can't possibly predict.
Mm.
Entire industries are going to be basically tipped over. So I
Yeah.
think it's very important to pay attention to what's going on. My action plan is simple. I'm on half a dozen newsletters from AI geeks and specialists. And so I just keep an eye on what comes through my inbox. I I see the change. So, for example, recently I found out about Chat GPT-4 being able to bring in inputs from data, like the code interpreter. And so I've been loading up spreadsheets and playing around with that and seeing how handy it might be to help fast track processes that are manual. So I use it as a tool to augment what I'm doing. But it's, again, the quality of the input is important. If you
Yeah.
give it dumb instructions, the
Yeah.
answer is not going to be great. But it will
Yeah.
definitely change things. I also think, what will it mean more than ever? I think the value of taking 15 people into the woods will be far more important in a year from now than it was last year,
Yeah.
because people will crave human, organic, real. And each week when I'm on a group call with the people that I'm helping, I can't help but think there's no way they're going to just tap an icon on their phone and ask their question there. It's missing so much. It's
Yeah.
missing the human connection. And the
Mm.
more people homogenize this, and like, I'm seeing a lot of deep fake videos now. These social influencers making deep fake videos of themselves with AI scripts, with AI voice, with AI images. It's really just rubbish.
Yeah.
And we're going to really crave genuine, authentic human connection. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing this. They want to go and meet people. I've got the guy that actually bought my business. He was a student of mine. He was sitting in a conference room in Dubai. I spoke from stage. He purchased my program. I coached him from scratch. He got a successful agency up. He ended up buying almost all of my SEO supply, to the point where I sold him the company. And
Hmm.
now he's doing massive things with his company. Just won the best SEO agency in the world in Paris. And I think he's doing deals at the moment. But he's flying out, and he's coming up here on Friday to catch up. But he'll go out of his way from Dubai after just visiting Paris, and he's visiting Sydney or Melbourne, I think, and he's just flying up to Noosa for one day to say hi. That's not going away. That's very
Yeah.
important, and it'll be more special.
Yeah. No, amen to all that, man. Like the human connection, I do agree. It will always have a place. And if you can position yourself, yes, to leverage, going back, full circle to our initial points on how to work less and make more, if you can leverage AI to do some of the tasks and to create prompts and baseline, data entry and some of these things that need to get accomplished, I think it's a great component to have in your business. But ultimately, the human to human connection, the empathy, the EQ, emotional intelligence that's required at a high level to produce results for people, I don't think that's going anywhere. And especially having experience like you, and really making sure that you're using it. Like AI just doesn't have that yet, and I don't know if it ever will. So it was cool to get your take, and I do fully agree. James, this has been phenomenal, man. And I'm sure some of the happy hustlers are like, all right, this guy, he knows his stuff. And, I want to go deeper. First of all, where can people go to just learn more about you and maybe pick up a copy of your book or even potentially work with you?
Yeah, well, jamesshramko.com is a good starting point. It's got the podcasts, and there's a products page. It's free products, free trainings, and the book's free as well. Or if you like it on Audible or Amazon, it's sitting on there. You can buy it. And yeah, that's a good starting point. And my name on socials. I'm personally responding to people on Instagram and Facebook. It's not a robot or a chat bot or a setter or a closer.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. And it's James and then Schramko for anyone who's just listening.
Yeah.
But we'll link it all up in the show notes. So you guys can check that out. Now, James, I do want to just ask you a couple questions when it comes to happy hustle hacks. These are like a tip, a tool, a tactic in a variety of disciplines. First being health. I know you surf, pretty much every day, and you're out there getting after it, and you look great for your age, which I didn't even know that was how old you are, so it's impressive, man. But I'm wondering if you have a happy hustle hack when it comes to health, something that you do that maybe is a little unique that you can share with the happy hustlers.
Well, I think you've touched on it. I do surf every day, and so I do feel like I'm a young 52. um, I lost a fair bit of weight in the last 3 months, actually, and that was by tracking and measuring stuff. So I hooked in some biometrics, and if there's one thing, if you forget all the supplements and orange nightshades and all the super booster brain, blah, 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 right? All great. But if you just get good sleep, that
Yeah.
is king to everything.
So
My
true.
goal is to get a good sleep score on my Aura ring. I get the little crown. Of most of the people I talk to, I have a higher sleep score than a lot of them. I'm in the 90s most often. And
Mm.
that is the secret to everything. If you can get good sleep, you have magical superpowers, and it doesn't matter what herbs you're taking or marketing bullshit you're falling for. Just
Yeah.
sleep, and sleep doesn't sell that well. It's not as sexy. I do know
Yeah.
there's some people who make money from selling to that industry, but it's the King Kong sleeping,
Yeah.
and then the next level is breathing, being a better breather. Most
Yeah.
people overbreathe,
Yeah.
and if you can get your breath under control, that certainly helped me with my surfing. But
Yeah.
getting that good oxygen score and not over consuming, that's going to make a big difference too.
Love it. Yeah. Sleep, such a priority in my life, and I know yours, and any high performers who really wants to crush it. You got to have that sleep and the energy and breathing and breath work. Those are great tips there, man. Let's talk about money. I think money is a frequency, a tool, right? It makes you more of who you truly are. I'm wondering if you have any happy hustle hacks when it comes to maybe saving or investing or spending wisely. Something in this money arena that we could deem a happy hustle hack.
I think it's like your body's metabolic rate. It's important to spend less than you earn. If you can do that, you'll have a surplus,
Yeah.
and it makes life easier. So
Yep.
again, making good decisions for the long haul will put you in a great position. Like I like tangible investments. So I've collected a few properties, and I also have some money that's with someone who lends money, and it's commercial type things that are secured, and that's good. But I like to take money out of my business. This is counterintuitive. Every ball is saying grow, 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 and reinvest everything, like make no profit, put it all back into the business, and then have a big payday one day. I think Gary Vee talks about that. He doesn't make profit off $100 million revenue. He just reinvests it, so he has a big payday. And good luck to him. He'll probably end up buying the team that he wants to buy, the Jets, so that he can impress his mum, because that's what it's all about, according
Yeah.
to some video I watched, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But back to the point, I take the money out of my business and I put it into investments, and then the investments generate income. And so over time, I could just turn the business off. It won't matter, because the investments are where the wealth comes. So if you want to buy fancy cars or whatever, then pay them from the investment income, not straight out of the business. And
Yeah.
and probably all young people that I've coached, they need to go through that phase, and myself included. And then you sort of go past that phase. It's like the three stages of watches, right? It's like
Mm.
the Casio or the Seiko, and then you get the Apple Watch, and then
Yeah.
then finally you get the Rolex, and then the last stage is you take it off and you stick it in the safe, because it's going up in value, but you just don't need to wear it anymore to feel significant. You don't need
Yeah.
to impress anyone else, because you're at peace inside yourself.
Yep. That's so true. I
They're great
mean,
investments, by the way. I think the one I bought for $11,000 or $12,000 is worth about $65,000 now. And the funny thing is, I
wow.
don't wear it, but it's changed purpose now. It's just an investment.
Yeah.
It's not a like a peacock badge of impressiveness to make everyone think how clever I am.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, sage words again, just like using your passive income or your residual income from your investments to buy the things that you want to live the lifestyle that you desire, rather than your active income from your business. That's a really great point there, man. Let's talk about
There is one
spirituality.
little hack too.
Oh, go ahead,
Just
please.
just on that, I think this is important, and I've only learnt this in the last, I don't know, 5 years. It's especially since I've become a surfer. It's really good to just have more gratitude for the things you already have.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself always wanting something else, like whatever you have, it will never ever be enough. And
Yeah,
you hear
exactly.
someone like me say that, and you say, "Bullshit! I'm going to get it anyway. I'll definitely be happy when I have my Bentley or Ferrari or whatever." You won't. It's a false chase. But the thing is, if you could just be happy with what you have, that is the ultimate hack. And I like
Yeah.
references like Tao Te Ching, etc. Like
Yeah.
I've learnt to be more happy with what I'm happy with my Toyota Land Cruiser. I don't need a baller flex car for socials. I just like a really practical car that never loses value, that will take me on any beach I want to surf. I think for me, when you find that sweet spot, it's so relaxing.
Dude, preach it, brother. I'm the same way with my truck. I'm like, I could tow a horse trailer, I could tow a camper, I can go fly fishing, wherever I want. And it's like, it just is so rewarding, to not be um,
Owned by
infected
it.
with the more disease. I call it a disease because I really think it is one,
Mm.
where it's just more money, more followers, more clients, more everything. And it's never ending. So if you can like cure yourself from that more disease earlier rather than later, you'll live more fulfilled. So there you go. Let's talk about spirituality, just maybe something here that helps you connect with the higher power. I don't really care what one religion or another. I just think it's important to have faith in something bigger than yourself. Do you have something here that maybe comes up in terms of a happy hustle hack in terms of spirituality?
For me, it's just immersing myself in the ocean.
Mm.
It's I'll be sitting there and just watch a huge bird flying across it, like just a couple of feet above the water, just gliding. And I just think, wow, that is amazing. It's like, or I'll see, we have whales out the front right now,
Wow.
whales jumping. I'll often see a pod of dolphins or a stingray, or little reef sharks
Shark.
or sea snakes. You, Fish just there, right underneath. They'll be going along a wave over a reef and see little schools of fish. For me, that daily immersion. I mean, most of our body's water anyway. It
Yeah.
seems to make sense to me to balance that. And I walk to the beach barefoot.
Hmm.
My favorite surfing spot. It takes about half an hour to walk through a forest and then down a cliff, and it's all
Hmm.
barefoot, and it feels so right.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just in the middle of the forest in board shorts, carrying my board, barefoot, and disconnected from every piece of tech
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just feels right for me. There's something that, and when I'm out in the ocean, it doesn't give a shit about big pharma or politics or
It's so
pandemics
true.
or interest rates. It doesn't care about any of that. That water and that rock and that piece of sand, it's been there for a very long time, right?
So
It
true,
doesn't
man.
care. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Just connecting with nature, man. It's one of the 10 alignments of being a happy hustler. So love that. James, this has been phenomenal, man. I do want to put you through the rapid fire round and then we'll wrap this interview up. So this is just, a bunch of random questions and you answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. So are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Favorite movie? Go.
Honestly, I can't think of a single movie.
You said you were
I'd say
ready.
Mad Max. Mad Max.
Okay. Favorite book?
Mm, Getting everything you can out of it, all you got.
Favorite food?
I'd say it's going to be some kind of pasta.
All right. Best business advice?
Question everything.
What's your spirit animal?
Or probably a bull.
Three things you're most grateful for?
My children, my health, uh, being born a white male in an English-speaking non-at-war country.
Those are good ones. And if you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, what's that billboard read?
Uh, Everything will be okay.
Love that. Man, James, you crushed that rapid fire round. And brother, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers. And just, the truth, the stuff that you preach about is and keeping it real with everyone. I mean, it's hard to find that type of unapologetic self out there in the interweb. And I know you're doing that. I mean, Mike Hill connected us, and I'm so grateful he did. I'm looking forward to collabing with you in the future, and I'm just grateful to
Oh yeah,
rock the
you're
mic
coming
with
on
you.
my podcast. So.
Yeah, let's
You know,
do it.
you bring the same spirit that I had with Ezra on I think at Get podcast series. He's just the same real earthly spirit. I love it. Thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you, brother. If we could just encapsulate our time together with just like a call to action per se, anything you want to leave the Happy Hustlers with, and go ahead and also mention where can people find you again one more time.
Look, go and grab a copy of Work Less, Make More. It's absolutely free at jamesshrampko.com. Enjoy.
There you go. And then just if you had to encapsulate your ethos into just like final points for the Happy Hustler, what would you say?
I think for the Happy Hustler, I'd put an emphasis on the happy. There's a lot of people hustling and grinding, but get to a position where you can do the thing you absolutely love every day. For me, it's surfing every day. If it's bike riding, canoeing, trekking, reading a book, whatever it is, build that into your day as a non-negotiable, and then build your business around that to support it.
Crush that. Dang, James. That is all for today, folks. We appreciate you tuning in, and we are sending lots of love and light. Thank you again. Mike drop out. Peace and love. James.